right. Glad to see everyone out here today. Glad to be back debating. It's always fun. The resolution today is the United States federal government will enact immigration reform. First off, I'd like to state that me and my partner here are here to propose to improve the life of the workforce, improve the workforce, and increase the United States economy. So let's start off with my first observation. Subpoint A: we reserve the right to define. This debate is going to be a policy debate today because of the resolution the United States should enact, basically calling for action. Subpoint B: the terms you can call everything that's going to be contextual. Immigration reform is going to be improve immigration. Legislation to improve immigration. Subpoint C: the plan to reduce the cost. Legislation will be introduced to reduce the cost of immigration by providing a government-insured loan with a fixed interest rate. Attachments: the applicant for the loan must attend a technical college of his or her choosing. Subpoint D: the criterion today will be net benefits. Okay, did you guys have any questions about the plan or any of the startings?
Yes. Could you just repeat the plan again, like the plan text?
Okay, I'll go over everything too. The agent here is going to be Congress. Funding is going to be by normal means. And the text itself is legislation is going to reduce the cost of immigration by providing a government-insured loan with a fixed interest rate, and an applicant must attend technical college. Okay? And the criterion, again, is net benefits. All good?
Do you have any sort of enforcement mechanism?
Enforcement will be by normal means.
Okay.
So, my first advantage, econ. Hey, Joe.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
that's good. Okay. Econ is the first advantage you can tagline. Subpoint A: the harms. Our economy is not great right now. We are on a recovery cycle, but it has not yet reached its peak. And illegal immigration is not doing well for that, meaning that illegal immigrants do cost more. If your child is attending if you're an illegal immigrant and your child is attending a public school, it is costing more because you're not introducing income or property tax into that as well. Subpoint B: the inherency. Immigration sucks right now. Let's be frank here. Current immigration policy either A, does not help the situation by introducing a hot climate essentially, or a dangerous position for immigrants coming in, or it makes it worse, such as we can look at in the enforcement of the Great Wall of Texas, for example. Basically, it's not working. We're spending a F ton of money doing it. And it's just not working whatsoever right now. Subpoint C here: our solvency. Our plan increases federal income. Not only are these loans are going to not only get paid back in full, but with interest. So you see an increase in government income, as well as an increase in the education of the workforce, because now we see that these people are coming in with a government loan that it supplies them with enough money to become a citizen, as well as a minor education. And so what that does is increases the level of the workforce. So with a higher educated workforce, you have better econ. Country overall does a lot better. Subpoint D here is the impacts. United States federal government deficit down, quality of life in the United States goes up. Yes, I'll take your question right now.
What's your sort of timetable to get this money? Because clearly you have to have, you pay a lot to start, and then the plan is to gradually get this money back. What's the time? Like, do you have any sort of idea of the timetable to take?
Same standard we use for college loans.
Yeah, same standard we use for college loans over the course of a pre-selected time. The timetable, if you're asking for like how we're going to get the money to do this, is again by normal means. It's going to be
I meant like when will we see the return? Like when will we get all this stuff?
At least at the end of 4 years. Because that includes enough time for income to be starting.
So all 4-year loans is what?
Correct, essentially. Advantage 2, increase of quality of life for immigrants. Subpoint A, How long am I supposed to speak? 6
7.
minutes.
7.
Minutes? Okay, thank God. I haven't done this in a long time. Increase of quality of life for immigrants. Subpoint A, the harms immigrant quality of life is low. You can start off just by saying they don't make a lot of money, okay? And they can be thrown into the other 30%, according to Time Magazine, the other 30% of what it costs, or people below the poverty line. That means below $27,000 is the is about the average of the 30%. And because they are not citizens of the state of the country, they do not get protection via unions or protection via the laws. They are basically open for abuse. And now it's expensive to become to be legally immigrate here. It's $465. Now to you or me, that may not seem like a lot of money. $465 is equivalent to 400,000 pesos.
No.
What? What was it? 4,000. That's still a lot. 4,000 pesos. That is a huge amount of money for a person to come up with in a short amount of time. Or even over a long period of time, that's a lot, especially when you're in a country situation like Mexico is. Subpoint B, the inherency here is, there's no way that a person who is hiring illegal immigrants or basically working illegal immigrants as kind of like slave labor, there's no reason why they're going to increase the quality of life of these people. There's no monetary or other value reason for them to do so. Subpoint C here, the solvency. Our plan makes them citizens. So that means they have access to 3 things right off the bat. They have access to public health. They have access to public systems, public meaning like the judicial system, transport system, things like that can get them to and from.
Be protected or
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Income impacts, makes us look better, works, and we increase the quality of life. Thank you.
I don't think you stopped. I think you're supposed to continue.
No, I'm at 7 minutes.
And 16 seconds.
Was he supposed to pause it though?
No.
Oh, you had a timer?
Yeah, it's all going to be continuous.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That's my pen. Can I have that pen?
I actually just bought this.
I promise I'll take care of it.
All right.
It's like, I will take care of your pen. Just calm your 5-cent ass down.
Oh, no, I thought you said this is my pen.
All right.
I just.
So thanks everyone for being here. Will, good to see you and debate against you. Usually we don't, so this is cool. And also immigration reform we haven't debated recently, so this is good. So I'm going to start with some off case, and then I'm going to go on, and then I'm going to talk about our counter plan. So the first disadvantage to their plan is a politics DA. The A point is that Republicans have been clear that they don't want anything that has to do with immigration reform coming up on the ballot, at least until the midterms, and they don't want to even bring that up in the House of Congress, in any House of Congress. The B point is that, like, so we can concede that, like, their Congress passes this law, but then they don't get to say that nothing bad happens as a result. Because if Congress is forced to do something that they don't want to do, at least the Republicans, who are the majority in the House and are soon to be the majority in the Senate, at least according to many analysts, that this is going to upset the majority of Congress. So now getting to the C point of our DA, our internal links, and there are 3 of them. The first one is that this decreases bipartisanship. So whereas we had bipartisan support on things like the Farm Bill and on other issues, this is going to decrease that because Republicans are going to be like, look, this was basically forced on us. Somehow Congress passes it, and so bipartisanship decreases. The second internal link is that this is going to stop the minimum wage legislation from going through. While there may be some agreement on it now, this is just going to upset Republicans, and they're not going to want to increase the minimum wage, especially when it's people like illegal immigrants who might be getting these increases. Yes.
Is this minimum wage legislation even going to be affected if we have a huge illegal workforce that we want to be moving into legal?
Yes, it'll be affected. So the third internal link which is probably the most important, is that the Republicans then will not pass the funding bill to fund Congress for the fiscal year if it has their plan in it, which is offering like federal loans to illegal immigrants. Congress is definitely not going to pass the funding for it. Our example is look at the Affordable Care Act. The Republicans were like, we don't want this to happen. It happened, and what did Republicans do? They refused to pass funding for the bill, and they shut down the government. So now, getting down to our D point, our impacts, is we're going to have a partisanship gridlock. So this is like the ideological gridlock that's going to happen when the Republicans are basically now forced to become more of a tight, more partisan group because of this being forced on them. But then you're also going to have the financial gridlock. This is the second impact of a government shutdown when the Republicans refuse to pass funding for this bill. And so we're going to see not only will then their plan not be funded, so they won't get solvency, we'll see public services cut, including education, and we will not be able to debate if Congress shuts down again and we see more spending cuts as a result.
Correct.
Our second disadvantage is vigilante justice. So the A point is that when people believe the government isn't responsive to them, they tend to take matters into their own hands, especially people who are more conservative, people like Tea Partiers who are generally centralized in the South, meaning Texas, who is a huge state that deals with illegal immigration on a daily basis. And the B point, the link, is that their plan will upset these people to take matters into their own hands. The example that I'm going to bring up is how even when we were having the massive amounts of minors coming across the border, thousands of them, and the government was busing them to different cities, people in those cities would go out and not let those buses through and would hold up demeaning signs and would be shouting things at these buses and would be telling these people to go home. Yes.
Why, in logical sense, would Texans disagree with legalization of people?
They have proven that they don't want that. I mean, Governor Rick Perry himself has said he is not for amnesty. So the C point, the internal links here, is first we have a huge increase in racial tension because what's going to happen is conservatives, Tea Partiers, those in the South are going to take more aggressive action because they're like, the government wasn't listening to us when we said we don't want these people bust into our town. Now they're not. Now they're actually going to start giving them money in the form of loans, and they're going to be violent against them, whether it's verbally or emotionally or physically. And so what the second internal link is that this is going to cause an increase in gangs, especially among illegals. And now gangs among illegals are already a problem, but this is just going to make them more prudent as people are like, we have to band together so that we don't get taken advantage of and we don't get abused by people who think that we're invading their country. And so ultimately down to the D point now, there's three impacts here. The first one is we're going to see an increase in violence against immigrants. Because they're seeing that the government is not responsive and they have to take matters into their own hands. The second point is violence against law enforcement, because then law enforcement is going to come in and try to say, hey, you can't be violent against these people. But just like we saw in Ferguson, if people have a problem with law enforcement, they have no issue with then being violent against law enforcement, which is only going to increase the violence that goes on. The third impact is a border war, because as this happens more closely concentrated to the border, what we're going to see is people coming across the border in order to support their family members who are being acted violently against by these vigilante groups. And so you will have more illegal immigration, and especially at the border, we'll have a lot of violence. So now I'm going to get on to their case. So their first advantage one is called econ. They talk about our economy is recovering and illegal immigration hurts that. And we say, yeah, that's right, it is. That's why it's not the right time to be offering them loans, because the interest rates are going to be high. Generally, when the economy is not doing so well, that means interest rates for loans are higher. We saw this with the housing market, and that led to that crash as people default on their loans. And so now moving down to the B point, they say that immigration sucks, right? That it's dangerous, and that the Texas wall isn't working. Well, it is dangerous, but they're not solving for any of that. They're just saying we're going to give you money. They're not saying we're going to give you vehicles to help cross the dangerous plateaus and plains that it takes to get to this country. Yeah.
Would there be a reason for them to cross dangerous plateaus in country if they could just go in the gate?
Okay, so to get to the gate in that sense, they have to cross whatever those dangerous areas are. And So it's not an easy trek to come from Mexico or Central America to the U.S. If we're focusing on those immigrants. The reason the Texas wall isn't working is because that federal funding isn't going toward it. I'm sorry, I'm in protected time. So the C point here of their plan, they say that it solves by increasing federal income. I'm going to say no, it doesn't. It's actually worse because there's essentially no enforcement, just like with college loans, where people can just default on them, and then the government is losing money. So first of all, I'm going to say, look, that they're only talking about income here, and secondly, like people are going to default on these loans. They already said immigrants aren't making a lot of money, so they're not going to be able to make enough to pay back these loans that are going to have high interest rates. The increase in immigration quality of life, I'll just say that I'll get to our counterplan and say cross-apply to this. So our counterplan is to expand DACA. DACA is the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. So our plan is to give $20 million to the Department of Homeland Security, which will be used to detain, interview, feed, and clothe childhood arrivals. These are people under the age of 18. And throughout this process, then they'll see whether or not they need refugee here to escape violence or whether or not they can be sent back. So with that, we avoid the DAs, and I would like to urge a vote for opposition.
Can you cut me off? Oh, yeah, sure. Okay.
Is this thing even on? I think it died.
Yeah.
I think it died.
I think it's just...
No, it just goes.
Yeah,
blank.
it's going.
It's
See
still
the
recording.
green light by the camera? It's going.
Oh, okay, I have to make sure.
It happened yesterday.
It did?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me when you're ready.
Give me a
Your
second.
fan would be
I
shown.
have to make sure I'm off.
And you can use
Puro guapo y todo eso.
Ah, okay, bueno.
It's sexy.
Yeah.
Alright, give me a second. What, I'm running 8 minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
correct.
And count me off. Alrighty. I want to thank everyone for coming here today. I am here to debate. I want to thank my opponents for putting out this great argument, because without argument we can't clash. And I want to thank my fellow partner here for making it easier for us to win, because you know what? If I don't win, then there's something wrong because I'm Mexican and we're having a debate on immigration reform. But it's a totally different subject, so we'll talk about that later. Alright, so I'm going to be starting off with what my partner said, but what you actually said about what my partner stated about how Republicans are going to be not wanting to do this just because, you know, Republicans are Republicans, blah, blah, blah. We can all talk about the semantics of Republicans not wanting immigration reform. But with our plan text, I actually say the Republicans are actually going to be wanting this just for one reason: money. And we all know Republicans love money. I'm a Republican. I love money. I love having money in my wallet, even though I don't have money in my wallet right now just because I'm broke. That's a totally different subject, which I'm not going to talk about right now. So with our plan, we stated that the immigrants are going to be coming into this this country. They're going to be coming in through, and we're going to be offering them these government-insured loans only on the premise that they go through this technical proficiency school. So say they go through and they learn how to be a plumber, they learn how to be an electrician, they learn how to do all this. So they have a basic foundation of how to work instead of coming into this country and just be working at the McDonald's, working at the Chipotle, working at those little minimum wage jobs where they're not contributing to the overall economy. So with the jobs that we're going to be teaching them, they're going to be being able to pay off their debt, and they're going to be able to contribute to the society, and they're going to improve the level of proficiency of the immigration base that is, well, say, example, the United States. Right now, the immigration base is primarily for menial jobs, hard labor jobs. I'll get to them in 1 second. Hard labor jobs and things like that. But with our program, it's going to elevate that to semi-skilled workforce. Yes, sir.
So do you think your plan is going to be very attractive to illegal immigrants?
I would say so. If I was an illegal immigrant, which I confirm nor deny, I think I would want to get into this program just because I'm learning how to better myself, and I'm being able to take care of my family, which is one of the main reasons why immigrants come into this country, is to take care of their family, which we can all confirm. Or if you want to deny that they're doing it for other reasons, you can do that. But I think one of the main reasons is that they have people to take care of. And yes, sir.
So you're saying an illegal immigrant who comes into this country looking for like a quick source of income to be able to provide for their family back home is going to want to take a time out of that they could be working to go to school and then put themselves in debt to start?
Look, that's a totally different argument that we can get into. If they wanted to make quick money, look, they can be a drug dealer in Mexico, and that's a really quick way of making money. It's a long-term way, but it's an honest way, which I think a lot of immigrants want, is to have an honest living, which I want. I'm assuming that all of you would want, so that's a good thing. So, with whatever you're saying that Republicans are not going to be going for that, which I say they actually are going to, just because, you know what, Republicans love money, and we can all say, Southern Republicans, let's say George Bush and all that, they love Mexicans, even though they don't want to confirm it, just because, well, Mexicans are pretty awesome. We can all agree to that. So, moving on to the second point, you're saying it's going to decrease bipartisanship, all that, partisan gridlock, but I actually think that it's not going to actually do that. It's going to do the opposite, just because, okay, you have the Democrats doing their bleeding heart thing, and then you have the Republicans doing their saving the money thing. So, Republicans save face, Democrats save face, they all work together, solve a big problem that's a huge money drain on this economy, which we can actually divert into more pressing issues at that point. And you were talking about, okay, if there is a partisan gridlock, it is going to be doing this, it's going to be doing that, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. Well, I actually say that's, by definition, a slippery slope fallacy. And by that, you have to cross that off out of your flow chart, just because we cannot take into our flow chart a fallacy, just because fallacies have proven themselves to be wrong. Next point, vigilante justice. No matter what, vigilantes are going to be doing stuff because that's what they assume that they're going to do. A great example of, you were stating that, oh, okay, they're going to be attacking law enforcement, they're going to be attacking the immigrants. Oh, that's bad. We saw Ferguson. Well, that's, you know what? I can give you another example. Little Rock University. When that happened in the 1970s in the Civil Rights Act, you know what the president did, what Eisenhower did? He federalized the National Guard and sent their ass in and made sure they registered into the university. So you know what? You have some vigilantes with their little pistols coming in. We'll send in the National Guard. What they're going to do about it? There we go. That solves that problem. I'll give you a moment later. Sit down. Sit down. There we go. Okay, so then I'm going to move on to your point. The interest rates are going to be high. You know what? The economy is bad. But the thing is that what is the perfect way to stimulate the economy than not to bring in future prospects of revenue? Future prospects of revenue. We have those illegal immigrants coming in, working. They're going to be contributing to the economy in a longer distance. A lot of people have this mentality is that we don't get money now, we're not doing the good thing, but this is a long-term partnership, is a long-term dedication to our economy, and everything you know, and everyone knows that if you put in money into the long term, if you do something for the long term, it generally has greater results just because you're putting in the effort, except for the quick gain that we're used to. Quick gains are not popular. Well, they are popular, but you know what? This American dream of getting the quick touchdown at the very beginning is not going to be working for us right now just because it's not working at all right now. So we got to put in a little bit of time, put in our effort, and then we'll be able to save the economy, which I say is important. If we save the economy, we're also going to be saving face because you know what? This whole problem that we're having right now, the immigration, just makes Americans look bad, okay? We're talking about electrified fences. We're talking about the Great Wall of Texas. We just look bad. But with this, we're helping the immigrants, we're saving money, we're just saving face and money. That's one of the things I think we can all agree on. So I'm going to reiterate everything before I continue, or I stop with everything. So I have, you know what, we're going to be saving money with the proficiency testing and the schoolings, and we're going to be stopping the bipartisanship, or we are going to continue the bipartisanship, the whole slippery slope fallacy, which we can't even be using. Vigilante justice, they have a problem with it. You know what? We'll send in the National Guard. They'll handle that. You know what? Interest rates, you know what? The economy, like I said, is going to be bad. But the thing is that is a long-term slope.
Vigilantes are going to exist.
Yeah. Vigilantes are going to exist no matter what. That's whatever about it. And you know what? With everything we said, we've countered everything that you've said. And we're going to be pushing in with our plan just because our plan saves face and saves money. And as a Republican Mexican, what you gonna do? And thank you.
Okay, I'm going to be starting off case and then on. So I just want to start by thanking everybody for coming. This is going to be my first and last time talking, so it's just a pleasure. But let's get right into things. Let's talk about our first DA, which was the politics DA. They said they essentially turned this to say that Republicans want this for the money, that they want this. That is just not true. It's very close to an election, and Republicans cannot risk giving President Obama a win or anything that the Democrats appear to have as a win. And that immigration reform is something that Democrats run on all the time. They're very popular. They've got the highest Latino vote. Any sort of action on that front will be a huge detriment to Republicans. And as I'm going to show you, the money won't even be that great, so it's not an incentive for them to just throw away all their political leverage and to lose control of maybe even the House of Representatives if they give such a big win to President Obama. Yes?
Okay, so our statement was that Republicans enjoy having more income coming to the United States, and you said that is completely false. Just confirming that.
No, I'm saying that it's false that you're saying that desire to get income will overrun like their political ambition. So they want to be elected more than they want to give a few dollars, to bring the economy up a few dollars. And I'm going to explain why the econ isn't even that great of an argument in a little bit. No, thank you. I'll get to you maybe later. And then by giving... Then they also said that this is going to be very appealing towards illegal immigrants. But as we all know, immigrants are coming to the United States in order to get a job quickly, to provide for families or relatives back home. The vast majority of them won't want to take time that they could be working or doing something or just sleeping so they can work harder the next day while buying textbooks and studying and going to classes late at night. They won't have the desire to even do this. So who's going to come in and take 4 years or however many years they want to put on their loan to no illegal's going to want to put themselves into debt when they could just start sending money back home immediately and working like they have been doing for the past. Then they also said it's a slippery slope fallacy that the Republicans will lead to revenge, but the slippery slope doesn't exist because that's what we have links for. We know that the Republicans don't want to give up the political power. They don't want to let Obama have a win, so then they will have increased gridlock or have a government shutdown over it. Yes?
Yes, you said that no immigrants are going to be wanting to do that. Isn't no an absolute? And if one of them does it, doesn't that cancel the entire...
Many immigrants won't want to do it because they will prefer to have money right away.
So it's not no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then what they said about vigilante justice, they gave the advance. They said, first of all, that vigilante justice always exists. That's true, but what you're doing is you're going to exacerbate it and you're going to cause much more. We're not going to by not doing it, I'm not saying that all vigilante justice will go away, but you're giving people a reason to be angry and to do something and to lash out, which will cause all our impacts of all our links of racial tension, increased gang violence, and then lead to our eventual impact of border war. And an example of this will be the rancher Ted Bundy, or whatever his first name was, the Bundy rancher who wouldn't pay off his loan. So a bunch of Republicans came down to fight the FBI essentially with snipers on freeway overpasses. Yes?
How does Ted Bundy, which is a property dispute, have to correlate with
it shows that the amount of the pot is kind of boiling now. There's a lot of tension going on between the government and the people, especially Tea Party Republicans. So if they're willing to over some guy's cows, how is giving illegal immigrants loans that maybe they can't even get themselves going to make them happier? That's going to lead to more people being more upset. I've already answered enough of your questions. Thank you. Now let's get to the counter plan. DACA, the benefits of DACA is that it's going to protect children. That's what the opposition is after. We're going to, first of all, be able to take these children into consideration, which is a more pressing problem right now than it's ever been. And what we will do is the Homeland Security is going to detain these people. They're going to interview them to assess whether or not their plea for
sanctuary is valid or whether or not they can do it, and then they are gonna keep them until the time where they are deemed safe or where they can go back safely. So our plan is going to increase the safety of children coming from Guatemala or Central America, wherever the countries they're coming from. These children need to be protected, and they will be. So that's what we're going. That's what our counter plan tries to do, and just explain why we're not bitten by the vigilante justice or the Republican revenge is because it already exists. Republicans already passed it. Democrats already passed it. If we were going to seize these types of revenge tactics, we would have already seen them. But this is just an expansion of a program that we've all already agreed to. It's not going to cause really an upset. It's not going to ruffle any feathers, but it's going to be more. It's going to be more beneficial to these children. So instead of causing race riots, we'll have children who are be able to sleep safely at night. Instead of having border wars, we'll have children who we know are protected, and then we can deal with them once their security back home is come to a close. Now just to go to their economy advantage. They said that the illegal immigrants take a toll on the economy, but their toll on the economy is not actually that much and is definitely not enough to get Republicans to sign on to this effort. It's not that much because illegal immigrants pay sales tax. They don't get any sort of tax refunds. Many of them have fake Social Security cards, so they pay into Social Security, a system that's failing right now, and they're just simply paying money into the program, then they will never see the returns on that. So any sort of cost analyst, just because they don't pay property tax doesn't mean they're not contributing to the economy, and their work right now is really contributing, and people agree that we do need those low-skill jobs to be filled. So the Republicans are not going to go to this pretty marginal problem. It's not even that big of a deal, so they're not going to risk their political careers over it. When they're paying into a Social Security program and they're keeping that alive because it can hardly maintain the baby boomers. Then the quality of life argument. What's the quality of life for a person who's in a gang, who's being persecuted on the streets? Not just an illegal immigrant, but any person of Hispanic descent is going to feel this sort of this outrage that they're getting, that Hispanics are getting loans that maybe some Americans can't even qualify for, that people born here can't get, and then we're suddenly giving them to illegals. So what kind of quality of life is that person going to have? And thank you. That's my time.
Is that okay? Is that okay? Perfect.
What's it called when I oppose something that he says during this part?
It's called a point of order.
Thank you.
How could you forget this?
You're gonna point of order everything right
I would have just like, yo, stop. Otherwise,
Shut the fuck up.
pretty much. So
Alright.
Joe, be prepared. I may forget again.
Four.
He's gonna point of order all that shit.
All right, so I would just like to close things out with this debate. I'm going to go briefly over all of our responses to their refutation and give us rejoinder, and then I'll talk about the voters. So first, on our disadvantage one of politics, again, when they say like, oh, well, basically our big response to
Point of
all of
order.
it.
Isn't the leader of opposition supposed to speak? Oh, wait, never mind. Sorry.
You messing with
Yo.
my shit.
Sorry.
You're a bad judge.
Okay, so
Oh.
they're saying, oh, well, it won't matter because government gets more money, therefore Republicans are going to like it. I think Spencer came up and hit it on the head perfectly. He says that basically just because the government might be getting more money, it's going to be a huge political loss for the Republicans, and they're not going to want that. Especially at a time when if the Democrats are able to like win more seats, then there won't be a Republican majority. Politicians in general, Democrat and Republican, care more about their political power than they do about fiscal responsibility. Then when I brought up the example of the ACA shutdown and how that directly would apply to a policy like they're trying to pass, there was no response. Finally, I'll talk about the slippery slope. Danny just comes up here and just says, it's a slippery slope. And my response is no, that's how a structured disadvantage works. You have, uniqueness, link, internal links, and then your impact, where you show a course of events that ultimately leads in bad things. And so they didn't address any of our impacts. They just said that it's a slippery slope. So next on our vigilante justice, just like Spencer said, yeah, we agree that vigilante justice exists anyway. We're not saying that they're creating that problem, but it's going to become exacerbated. And they say that the National Guard is going to come in, and my response is just that, like...
Point of order.
Yes.
That argument was dropped by the ML.
It was, actually.
My response is that it very well may have been.
I know your shit, Joe. You can't get away with that.
All right, Stefan, what's your ruling on that?
I will put into consideration.
Point of order before we start.
Whatever, asshole.
Judge.
You got a better side
Can
for
we get
us.
a good judge? He knows his shit.
I would pay money if you did that.
Well, it's on video, so we'll hopefully have some coaches look over this.
Wait,
Stefan can provide good feedback, too. All right.
You better fucking vote for us.
Starting time again. So next I want to just talk about like why their plan just inherently is bad. And so when I say that, and Spencer brings up like this is going to put people in debt to start, especially when there's such high interest rates on this loan and they're not making enough money to pay it back. You look at the economy, they said our economy is struggling right now. Sure, we're trying to recover, but we're not in the place that we need to be. And so this, it's just going to put them in more debt. And when they default, there's essentially no enforcement because they're illegal immigrants. And if they don't own any property, none of that can be taken. So they essentially get free money from the government, and the government loses money. So now I'm going to talk about our counter plan, which...
Point of order.
Yes.
Talking about just illegal immigrants taking our loans and running away with it is a new one.
Yeah, that is a new statement.
My response was that in my first speech, I said that they were going to default on it, and there's no enforcement, so I'm just expanding on that.
He did bring up the fact that there is no enforcement on the loans. I remember that.
It was
It's written
enforced
down.
through normal means, though. That's
Normal
what it was
means
stated.
doesn't cut it now, so why would it cut it?
It's still stated. We stated.
Hold
in
on,
the
there's no
beginning through
follow-ups
normal
and point of orders. Just
whatever.
Yeah.
go on.
So on our counter plan, none of it was responded to. We're talking about $20 million to the Department of Homeland Security. No DAs on how like that's going to be bad for economy or anything like that. So basically, like, look, so Obama is approaching in his tenure the 2 millionth deportation. And according to Danny Vinnick of the New Republic, he's affectionately being termed the deporter-in-chief. That's not something we want as a country, and we want to help immigrants. We want to help them, especially if they're fleeing from violence. We don't just want to give any illegal immigrant who comes to this country essentially money to do whatever they want with. We want to help those who are fleeing from violence improve their quality of life, and if they deserve to be here, which is what DACA is in place to do, find out whether they do or not. That's why we're funding DACA. And so we're going to be saving lives because we won't be deporting as many people back to places like Honduras, the murder capital of the world. Yeah.
God damn it, man.
Like
Deportation was never an advantage with dropping it of deportation was never an advantage in any of their stuff.
That is true.
Let me see.
We never talked about the lowering of deportation rules.
Yeah, deportation wasn't mentioned, so you guys are right.
That is another point of order.
I just said the child safety.
Point goes to you.
Okay. My response is that Spencer talked about child safety when he was talking about DACA, and at the same time, DACA, when I explained it in my first speech, deferred action for childhood arrivals. What it's going to be used to do,
That's so vague.
and in my plan text, I talked about how it'd be used to detain, interview, feed, and clothe childhood arrivals to see if they deserve to be here or
I
not.
didn't say deport.
To see if they deserve to be here or not. Okay, I may not have used that exact
That is
word.
him. Go on.
Okay. In any case, our counter plan goes unresponded to. So now I'm going to get to the voters with the 40 seconds I have left. The first one is our counter plan. First of all, like we really care about immigrants, and we want them to be able to be here safely instead of having them still be illegal immigrants but get loans and then still living under fear of being deported. So we avoid the DAs. Like Spencer said, there's no vigilante justice and there's no politics DA because it's been passed and groups haven't reacted overwhelmingly against it. First of all, our second voter, DA1 of the government shutdown, I think that this politics DA was done pretty well and that they don't have a good, full response to it. Third is the vigilante justice, where it gets exacerbated. They don't have a response to that. Finally, their plan puts immigrants into greater debt and puts them at greater risk, and the government is going to lose money, so they're not solving. Vote opposition.
Okay, so please time.
Time apart.
So I like to start by thanking everyone. Blanket, thank you. The second thing I'd like to say is, in the beginning, I stated that me and my partner are up here to increase the workforce and to increase the economy. Two things that our plan has clearly been able to hold up to and prove that can still be done. I'm gonna stick with the new responses to on case, and then I'm gonna go with my voters. They said that no illegal is gonna want to do this. Holy shit, that is really bad to say. You're basically saying that illegal immigrants are lazy. So I'm just gonna say that let's put it in your moral hands, and if you totally agree that illegal immigrants are lazy, by all means, vote for government. Let's move on.
Point of order. Point of personal privilege, I think it might be called. I feel that there's abuse happening, that him saying that we're saying immigrants is lazy is just hurtful. And I don't think that we said that in any regard.
All I'm restating is that Spencer said no illegal immigrants going to want to go with a 4-year plan because they're going for a quick buck. That kind of brings in the term lazy. So let's go with and then another new argument, which was Republicans aren't going to want to pay for this. This was in response to my first advantage. It's not going to be a lot of money, so the Republicans still aren't going to want to do it because it's not a lot of money. Well, my term would be that, let's see, we have a lot of immigrants, over 1 million, coming in all the time. $465 plus interest is going to be a lot of money. So we can go ahead and scratch that off the board as well. Then their only response to our advantage too, which was the new argument as well, was said their quality of life is already low because they're in gangs and stuff. We're trying to get them out of gangs by bringing new immigrants into a system where they are educated and can contribute to the workforce. So now that I've got all these new fancy arguments out of the way, let's finally get to my voters. There's actually another one last new argument. Was Republicans want their job over economic improvement. The fact is then if we're putting Republicans in a position where they're going to lose their job because this legislation goes through, I say it's a good thing because I don't want a representative representing me who wants their job over an economic increase. So, be it as it may. So, now let's talk about my voters. My first voter is Advantage 1. My first advantage, they very rarely talk about. They dropped That's going to drop this. They dropped that the higher interest rates are going to stimulate the economy. So that gives us really a lot of play into our solvency and our impacts, which means lowering of the United States deficit. Second advantage was almost completely ignored, except for saying that their quality of life is already low. So basically, I have access to all of those humanitarian impacts. Increase of life, better health, better education, better future, better happy children, which is their biggest argument. We're going to have a lot more happy children with this. And then finally, their first DA, we said, look, the Republicans are going to want money way over that. And their response was, Republicans are going to want their job. So you saw that my response was, we don't want those type of Republicans in that job then. That we're going to have that we're still going to have the Republicans that we want to stick there because the economy is going to improve are going to stay. And they said there's going to be a drop in funding as a result. I say nay. I say we're going to lose bad people who are in the government right now, which I think is a good thing. Second DA was vigilantes. They said, look, there's going to be a lot of bad vigilantes happening out here. We said, yeah, no matter what, bro. That's going to happen all the time. So they don't really have access to the impacts of increasing violence because that's going to happen no matter what happens regardless, including their counter plan, which they said does not cross-apply, but it kind of does a lot. And finally, the counter plan. I'm not going to present you any new arguments. We kind of let it flow across so that you as the judge can put them side by side and see which one's going to have more advantages. You can either have a counter plan with one real advantage of losing Republicans bad Republicans, or you can go with a plan that increases the economy, increases the quality of life for people, and overall respects non-lazy immigrants. So, really, you have to vote the government. When you look at the two worlds, over here we have a government who wants to maintain greedy representatives and believes that immigrants are lazy and only wants to
Point of
focus on
personal,
children.
whatever.
Point of order.
I think we've established that we didn't call immigrants lazy or that we want, greedy Republicans in office.
I'll get to that at the end of the debate.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, he brought it up again.
So
He
my
brought it up
second, the second world over here is one that helps all immigrants, illegal, new,
Turn the camera.
whatever. We are affecting the life of millions by doing
Turn
this.
it this
They
way.
affect the life of
There we
only
go.
existing children.
Middle.
So impact ratio, and
Yeah.
this, remember, the criterion was net benefits. This is going to benefit way more people than they will. Conclusion, Judge, winners.
All right. Okay, so
So, wait, can I just clarify what I just did?
No.